minority here, right? That's what Trev was telling me, right? So that day they came, I understood his sentiment because I'm like, oh my god, I've never seen so many white people in my life. Except for like when I've been to concerts because that's the only time they gather there, but I'm like, oh my god. So anyways, there's a lot of higher up white white dudes in like business suits like walking around the place. And I'm like, which is my boss's boss? Because none of them have any manners. They walked past us and none of them said hello. Like at least a hello would have been nice. And like, like it was but then again, I don't know what type of impression I gave off if he saw me because he came around 11, 12 o'clock ish. I had headphones in and I look younger than the other people there, right? So I'm like, I don't know what in the hell kind of impression I gave off. Ugh. I want to talk to him. I want to thank him for the raise. Anyhow. The day they came, I think, was after the concert, right? And I was like, oh, great. I'm so fucked. I had the concert, and then I'm back the next day because if I don't come back the next day, I know they're gonna there's gonna be a whole ton of work to do. And I know nobody's gonna be able to get through this because we're already short staffed. So I'm like, okay. Because I know Snack would have been like, Lisa, you better come in. You better, for love of God, you better come in. I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. Because when I wasn't there that day, it piled up to 200. She looked at me and I came back because I could do like an easy 150 easy, right? She looked at me and she's like, oh, thank God, someone's here to fix this shit. She thanked me today too. She's like, oh my God, you saved me from doing work. And I'm like, you're welcome. Anyhow. Yeah, so concert, came back to work, bosses came the next day, and I was like, I came home till like 12 o'clock ish. And then I have to get back up at 5. I've got like less than 5 hours of sleep. Gotta run through like 200 or so orders. Right? And then prep for the next day. It's fucking chaos. Anyways, so since Sketch left, she gave me a folder and she told me to fill it with all the stuff that happens until she gets back. And she told me not to send her any emails, but I did anyways. Oh, yeah. What? The other thing? I told her, you're gonna get Employee of the Month for March, right? But she didn't believe me, right? Because I could feel it, right? And she's like, they're not gonna do that. Why would they give me Employee of the Month when I'm not here? And I'm like, I'm telling you, I could, like, because she doesn't know I read her, but I'm like, I'm telling you, I can feel it. So she leaves. Then we have the team meeting on Monday. You know, that following Monday when she's not there. And then my supervisor comes out and he's like, she got Employee of the Month. And I was like, I wish she was there so I could tell her, I told you so. So I sent her an email that day, so I don't know if she'll get it. I wanted to be the first one to congratulate her, right? Because the others might forget, but I didn't forget. Yeah, she got Employee of the Month. She told me add everything to the folder. She told me water her plant with my tears. She didn't know that I borrowed her safety shoes, but I did do her share of the work even though she didn't train me how to do it. I can't remember if she told me anything else. If she did, I'm fucking forgetting now. Oh yeah, last thing. She told me since she's going back home, she said she'll look for wedding clothes for me because the wedding's in August for my cousin. And I was telling her, I'm like, I'm having a hard time. Well, I'm not having a hard time. It's just that, like, I don't know what to wear, right? So she's like, okay, I'll look around for you. But I'm like, that's not your fault. So I don't know if she's gonna bring me back something pretty to wear. So I don't know. Oh yeah, now I feel sad because the last day she left, like the last couple days before she left, she kept giving me walnuts. She told me eat more brain food because I'm the smartest one there. So like that day when I had pancakes, I really wish I had walnuts with me. Like she's got me craving weird shit. Because every time I go see her by her desk, she always had walnuts, so she would give me some. She's like, here, eat some of this. Or she'd be giving me candy, but she's like, I can't keep giving you candy. Yeah, so that's everything with her. Fabulous drowned her plant the other day. That thing definitely ain't gonna make it. I've been piling up the notes. I don't know if I was supposed to do today's one and give it to her because I feel like she'd understand it better than me. But anyhow. My supervisor was late today. I can't believe I beat him to work. I'm like, how the hell did I come to work before you? He was sick the other day. I think that's everything with everyone in the office. Aside from the fighting. Anyways, back to Michelle. So she was wearing this jewel tone shade green, right? Because I walked past and she's like, does it match your nails? Everybody kept complimenting me on my nails, okay? She kept, I lost my train of thought. Oh, God. She saw my nails as I was walking by, and she's like, does it match the same color as her shirt, right? And I told her no, because hers was more jewel tone, it was deeper colored, right? And she's like, oh, that's a good way to describe it. And I'm like, how could you not tell what kind of green that? I can tell she's not an artist, right? Because she doesn't know the difference in color and tone and all of that. I was like, oh, God. Speaking of Michelle, she wasn't there for like an entire week. It was the week I went to the concert. She wasn't there for that week because it snowed, or like not snowed, but like the snow that was, it snowed when Espa came. The snow didn't go away, but like when 127 came, it was rainy that day, right? So like all of the snow that was kind of melting but still there, and there was lots of water. It like turned to like ice, right? It's really ugly right now if you guys come. Anyways, so her porch or whatever had tons of like melted snow on it, right? So it was water, but because it was raining and cold, the water kind of freezed into ice. She didn't notice it. She slid down she said 8 stairs. She said, I slid on black ice and I hurt my knee and my leg. And she said she was screaming and crying. And I looked at her and I was like, I know you're in pain that day, but I'm like, why the hell did you come to work? Like, what in the fuck? She said, I felt bad for my neighbor. She looked like she was so terrified looking at me fall. I was like, oh my God. You're the one in pain and you're worried about, oh my God. Yeah, so then I was walking by yesterday and she was telling me, she's like, Lisa, you know tomorrow's the blood moon? And I was like, yeah, and? Like, it's really annoying. They tell me things and I'm like, yeah, but what's your point? Right? Like, they're giving me half sentences. She's like, you also know tomorrow's holy? And I'm like, oh, you mean Pagua? You know, I'm not that type of Indian, right? She said, yeah. Which is, speaking of which, I hate, like, I've never properly celebrated, you know, the tradition. And what I really hate is that you can't eat rank that day. Like, we can't eat chicken and any type of, like, meat that day. So it's really fucking annoying. Trev's like, Trev's like, fuck them. We're gonna do that anyways. We're Canadian. They consider us Indian anyways. But anyhow. Yeah, so she's telling me, oh, it's the blood moon and Pagua's going on. And there's a solar eclipse happening. And then she started talking about witches. Oh fuck, I didn't even finish talking about the jewel tone thing. So she was wearing green and she didn't understand the greenness, and then I was telling her it's jewel toned, and then she's like, oh, I'm wearing royalty colors? Okay, refer to me as queen. I was like, okay, your highness, whatever. Yeah, so she's talking about witches now, right? Because she stopped me and she's like, make sure after work you go straight home. I don't want to hear that you had negative spells casted on you or some shit and you don't show up to work the next day. You know how sad I'm gonna be? I'm like, you're already... Oh god, because she was telling me this morning how bored she was. Or not this morning, yesterday when she's talking about witches. That's what we had like a 10-minute talk. She's like, Lisa, I'm so efficient. She's like, I got all my work done, right? And I told her, wow, you're so efficient. And she's like, okay, go over there and tell my supervisor. Anyhow, yeah, so she starts going on about witches and she's like, you go home and make sure nothing happens to you and you come the next day, right? And she was telling me how like her youngest daughter was her birthday the other day. She went to go get an ice cream cake and I told her, isn't it too cold to get an ice cream cake? When I passed by her too, I asked her if she was cold, and she kept going like this, right? She's like, are my headlights showing? And I was like, oh my fucking god, Michelle, calm down. I never heard someone refer to it that way, but okay. Yeah, she said it was her youngest's birthday, getting an ice cream cake. They could barely fit it into the freezer. And I'm like, why an ice cream cake? I'm like, it's not even like summertime yet, right? Like, I'm like, it's still kind of cold. And she said she was craving the ice cream because she broke up with her boyfriend and she lost her job and some next third thing. And I'm like, wow, she really going through it. No wonder she needed some ice cream. So she's telling me because all the witches are going to be out, she said, I'm going to cast some spells. She said, I'm going to cast some spells so my daughter doesn't have such a hard time. And I was like, So then I went over, after I had my conversation with her, I went over to Sketch. Sorry, not Sketch. I went over to Snack. And I told her, let's make a wish. And then she's like, okay, I made my wish. And I'm like, okay, I wish for world peace. And she looked at me and she's like, why the fuck would you waste your wish on that bullshit? I only told her that just to see her laugh, right? Because I know she, like, after the whole French incident, she needed something to, like, to laugh about. She's like, what in the fuck? When Fabulous went to the washroom today because she had to go get water to water the plant, right? She's like, the water's coming out as if you're milking a cow, right? So, Snacks over, like, told you we sit across from each other, so she's listening in on the conversation because Fabulous comes to tell me this because she's like, you're supposed to be looking after this plant, and I'm like, I didn't agree to this bullshit. So then she was telling me how like the water's coming out as if you're milking a cow from the pipe, right? And I'm like, she was telling me how like she used to do that when she was younger, and I'm like, when you milk the cow, did you get chocolate milk? And then they all started laughing at me. I did that just to say something stupid, right? Then she was like, I'm gonna beat you with... She took the water, she was gonna go like this over my head. She's like... I was like, you came over here starting with the cow bullshit. Why are we talking about this? I'm like... She's like, I'll show you chocolate milk. And I'm like, okay, strawberry milk, banana milk. It didn't have to be chocolate. I'm just... So I can hear Snack laughing because she's like, what in the bullshit? Anyways. So back to Michelle, right? Well, we talked about so many things that I can't remember. We talked about her falling, how she hurt herself. She also told me, yo, I can't. See, I'm fucking malfunctioning. I can't believe when she told me she's in her 60s. And I was like, there's no fucking way. Like, there's no... I was like, I've been feeding this woman cake and all kinds of sugary shit. I was like, Michelle, why don't you fucking stop me? She always gets so happy when I tell her how young she is, and she's like, oh my god. like, Lisa, you know I'm like 60, right? I'm like, no. And then when it's concerning because like I can't feel her energy because I've never been next to her when she's not at her desk. And at her desk, I told you guys all the crystal stuff is there and all the other stuff. So there, like, I can't feel her energy when she's there, and I've never like felt her energy like outside or anything, right? So I'm like, I couldn't tell. I was like, she's gotta be like early 50s, not 60s. I was like, no way. But anyhow, yeah, she's telling me all kinds of things. Oh, don't tell her I told you guys that, because now she's gonna say, stop telling people I'm old. Because Trev said, they were talking about grandmothers the other day, he was talking about that with Diane, right? And he said something that offended Michelle because she was so mad. And then he was telling me about it later, and I was like, I don't know why she's mad. What the hell did you say? And now it makes sense, and I'm like, oh my god, she's a grandmother, but she doesn't got grandchildren. Oh yeah, she was so happy with me that day when I brought her that flower that she said I'm her no, she said I'm her daughter now. She's claiming me as her own. She also said my hair's getting really long. Yeah, she was talking about witches and the blood moon and royalty and ah. I can't remember what else. She just looked really happy today. But that day when she got hurt, like, I've never seen her energy drop so much. Like, she looked like a completely different person. Like, if you told me that's Michelle, I'm like, that's not Michelle on a daily basis. I've never seen her that way. I have to go spend time with Yogi too. He's gonna think I'm neglecting him. Fuck. I told Yogi I ate 4 pancakes. He was like, what? I wanted to eat them plain, but they all kept pouring syrup on it, and I'm like, the sweet stuff is gonna stop me from eating more, right? I could have eaten at least 10 of them if they didn't add the sugar shit on top of it. The front desk lady, she told me she had to be like the first one to get her pancakes. Because I was looking at her, I'm like, oh, what the heck? The building smelled so good with the pancakes though. The other day they had to turn off the water because the shop started leaking again, and they didn't want to risk another flood. And everyone was panicking. Okay, and then let's talk about the office fights now. They keep like arguing because they're not coordinating, and it happened too long. Then there was the day I had to. So I forgot. I thought like Blackpink tickets went on sale on the Friday, but it was Thursday, and I was like, I already took my break in the morning, but I know tickets go on sale later, and I know I'm gonna be working after work nonstop then. And I was like, fuck. The lady that sits beside me, she's on break, so I'm like, okay. I have about a 10 to 15 minute gap there. Like, I can go buy the tickets and come back without anyone noticing, right? I go into the break room to go get the tickets. Then she jump scares me. She's right behind me, and I was like, oh fuck. She's like, Felicia, are you feeling okay? What the hell are you doing? And I'm like, I'm buying Blackpink tickets. She's looking at me and she's like, oh my god, you better come back to work just now. I was like, okay. She's very argumentative. Right? So she was fighting with Grandpa the other day. Because I told you, they can't coordinate. She can't coordinate with me either when she's trying to explain something. Like, it's not clicking in my head. So she fought with Grandpa, and she was gonna fight with me. But I'm like, okay, I see your point. But I'm like, you didn't have to raise your voice or talk down to me like I'm a child, right? Which is really annoying. Like, everybody that works in that office is like a child. Anyhow, the one thing that really pissed me off with her, because she ruined my fucking day. Like, I don't want to talk about the heavy stuff now because it's hard to maintain a light energy. But the one thing that really pissed me off one day is that she told me, you're too sincere, right? And like something like this is like the second time I felt something snap in my brain, right? And I felt so fucking awful to the point where like I didn't want to do anything that day. Right? I think that's the worst fucking thing I ever heard in my life. She's like, you're too sincere. Alright, and instead of snapping back at her because I'm not like I don't want confrontation and it looked bad on me because I'm younger, even though my soul's fucking older than her, right? Because like they have no fucking manners. But anyways, what pissed me off is that she said it and I'm like, what are you trying to imply? Right? It's like the same thing when people say, oh, Lisa, you're so smart, right? And in my head I'm like, and what's your point? Right? Like it pisses me off. I'm like I don't consider myself smart because if you're in a room with people who aren't at your level, you're only as smart as they are, right? So if I'm in a room with you and you're calling me smart, I already feel stupid as hell, right? Because it doesn't take a smart person to point that out, right? So her calling me sincere really like upset me that day. That had to be the worst thing I ever heard because I felt so alienated in that moment. Right? Like I don't belong in the room, right? Like when I hear certain things, like it sounds like I don't belong in the room. Like there's no space for me there. Like I hear it and I just like I hate that I even exist, right? So anyways, since I met her, like I have like those like there's always those like situations that come up that just leave a bad taste in my mouth. You know what I mean? Anyways, every time something like that happens, my mind just goes blank, so I don't remember it. But I'm like, that really pissed me off. Same thing with my brother. Like I'm fighting with him too. He said the other day, he said, "Fucking world revolves around me." I'm like, in what fucking world do you fucking live in, or that's happening? I was telling Aaron because I felt so suicidal that day, and he was like, "What the hell?" mm. Anyways, yeah. Point is, they constantly keep fighting over dumb shit. Anyways, so my supervisor, I felt I don't go in his office to ask him for anything because I always feel like my energy just instantly drops when I'm there, right? So the last time I went in there to ask him for something, he told me to talk more, right? That pissed me off too because I don't like I have the headphones in for a reason. And if I start talking back to them, it's gonna look bad on me, right? So like if I start I like there's so many points in time when I just want to cuss some of them up because it's so friggin' annoying. But I know if I do that, I'm gonna need them to help me with other shit later. Which is really fucking annoying because no one trains anybody properly. Anyhow, so I'm in his office one day. Aside from him saying that, he told me, he points out the smart bullshit, right? And then him and her both said I have the qualities of a leader, right? They're like, oh, you could lead the team, right? Because he's telling me to go for a higher position. And then I keep telling them no, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy, right? They're like, Lisa, you have qualities of being a leader. Why don't you want the leadership position? And I'm like, because none of you are up to standard, right? Like, how are you gonna tell me I'm at the level to lead, but you're not at the level to fucking take anything I tell you? You know what I mean? Like, it's a two-way thing, and it fucking pisses me off. They're like, I'm like, why would I lead someone that's gonna stab me in the back? You know what I mean? Like, we're not coordinating as a team, right? You're just putting me there for the sake of putting me there. Right? It doesn't make any sense. Like, you want me to lead, but you're not gonna take anything I tell you, like, gonna do anything like, it doesn't make any sense in my head. So now I have to constantly keep dealing with all the fucking arguments going on back and forth. Grandpa looked like he was ready to choke her out, because I was like, oh my god, Grandpa, if you do it, it's fine. I'm telling you, I make money, so I'll hold any of you a nice funeral, right? Because you're gonna die as you live. You're hella stupid. So his shift, because he comes in last, right? His shift ends till 5:30, so it's just me and him nowadays. So I'm like, I can feel his energy. Like, you can feel it from across the room, right? Even though I can't read right now, but I can feel it, right? So I go over to him. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop work for a second. I'm gonna go over and make sure he's okay, right? Because I'm like, he's too old to be getting his blood pressure raised to that nonsense. And then he starts talking to me, and then everything's okay. So I think that's everything with work stuff. I don't think there's anything else I have to remember. The lady I told you that's my favorite, she's coming back on Monday, and it's St. Patrick's Day, so I gotta make sure to wear green. Last day I'm gonna have my nails like this. She's gonna tell me all about her trip. And I can tell her all the bullshit that's been going on and how bad they've been to me. Because she showed me how to do things a certain way, and then this one's trying to tell me you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, well, I was instructed by your senior here on how to do it. So if you don't like what I'm doing, take it up with her when she comes back. If it's not work related, I get along okay with her, right? Because I don't vibe with her at all. Like, how could you be older than me and behave like such a child? Like, I don't understand. I really don't fucking understand. And I can't fight with her either, because I'm like, I shouldn't be here in the first place. Since I got the new computer, because boss asked me how the new computer is, right? The screensaver keeps changing, so I keep sending it when I send my report every day, like email wise. I keep sending him the screensavers every day, because they're really pretty, because he's giving me travel ideas. Like, today it was in Italy again, I think. Rome's in Italy, right? I don't remember, but like, it's the Colosseum, so I sent that to him today. But I really want to send him a strong word email and all the bullshit going on, but I don't know if he's gonna help me or what in the fuck. Brandon called me in one day to talk to me, and I was asking him questions. And then boss emailed me back, and he's like, why didn't you tell me this first? And I was like, you should have known that before I even had to come to you for anything, right? Like, a leader's supposed to do those things. Like, last year, Snack was telling me how, like, she's like, no one ever celebrates our anniversaries, right? That's why I made such a big deal over my first one. So I made sure to email boss. I'm like, make sure you congratulate her. I don't know if she knows that. I don't want her to know that I did that, right? So I emailed him, and I'm like, make sure you congratulate her. Like, what the hell? And then he did. He's like, it's on my calendar. But I'm like, I don't know if I didn't email him, if he would have, like, forgotten or not. Because I don't know if I believe it was on his calendar or not. Because he didn't congratulate me. I'm like, shouldn't you have known it was my 1 year? Like, what the hell? Like, I know you're busy, but I don't know how busy. I'm like, what the hell? Like certain things like that, you know? Like for me, it's a measly 1 year, so I can let it slide, right? But for them, it's been like a good couple of years. I'm like, what the hell? And she's my favorite. Every time she teaches me something, like I learn it in like two goes, because you know one goes a little too a little too. I'm like, I don't wanna set the bar too high. I gotta, you know, slow it down a little bit. Uh she kept telling me, she's like, I want to see what you wear to the concert. Can you like please come dressed that way? And I'm like, the bosses are coming that day. You want me to come in a fucking biker jacket that day? I'm gonna get so much fucking shit for this. Ah. I wish though, cause Sketch can draw. I wish Sketch would draw like some like outfits, and then um Snack could wear the clothes, because she's telling me how beautiful her grandmother and things are, because I think she's really pretty, right? So I wish Sketch would draw out the designs, and then Snack would wear them, and then my role would be just to, you know, like capture everything on camera. But that's never gonna happen. We're never gonna get to do fun. Like I keep finding myself in these situations where I'm like I feel like I could perfectly do something here. Like with her, she always like I can feel her energy go off when like fashion stuff comes up, right? And I'm like, I fucking hate this, but it makes you so happy. So Michelle saw my shoes. She's like, Lisa, how'd you damage your shoes? And I was like, it was a long story. Long fucking story. Fucking weather. They weren't made for the weather. Ah. Oh. Yeah, I'm like, we could do a fashion shoot. I promised Sketch you would do that one day too. I gotta pick a month now, fuck. If she buys pretty clothes when she comes back, then I'll shoot it right away. But now I gotta go dig for my DSLR. I don't know where it is now. It's so sad. I had the old one, the first one that I used when I was in uni. And I'm like, this is only the temporary one, so I can get the proper one, because it hadn't come out yet. And then I basically broken that camera, right? To the point where like I need new batteries, because like it's old now, right? Got the new camera, and then shit happened and I couldn't use it. And I was like, well, it's been sitting there for so long, it makes me fucking depressed like thinking about it. So I put them away because I haven't used them since. Because when you go to, you know, certain situations, I have to use my phone. Speaking of which, I bought a new cable. Oh my god, when I was so fucked. I was at the concert venue, and I'm like, okay, time to charge my phone, right? Go to plug in my phone, and I'm like, the wire's not fucking working. Why the fuck is it not working? Then I start panicking. I'm like, if my phone can't charge, I'm not gonna be able to record the whole thing. And I was like, oh my fucking god, why? Ah, I got what I needed, but I don't know if I got it properly.